What's good, America? It's your man, Reggie Florima, a.k.a. Big Flo. 17 live with my man, OG. Together we make the Big Flo and O show. I chewed on it a little bit today, but we're not going to chew anymore. How you doing, O?
I'm doing good, man. I'm happy to be here today, like day 200 of COVID lockdown, but I'm excited because I got one of my homeboys from the Steelers, 123 Rivers, like we used to say, is a guy that I really admire and learned a lot from, and a very special guest. I think everybody's going to enjoy him. Ladies and gentlemen, like to introduce you to Mr. Brentson Buckner. Buck, say what's up, baby.
What's going on, OG? Flo, nice to meet you.
What's going on? We got you a little bit muffled all of a sudden.
You got me muffled?
Yeah, you're good now.
Yeah, Buck. So here's one thing I have to say about Brentson, and we'll get into your background. When I came to Pittsburgh in 1995, I was drafted, and they had a pretty talented defense. They had guys like Ray Seals, Kevin Green, G. Lloyd, but the most Rod Woodson, a whole bunch of All-Pros, LaVon Kirkland, but the most influential person to me was Brentson. And why? Because Brentson was the biggest shit talker I had ever met in football. But here's the thing. This guy was probably the most intelligent football player I ever met. And why I say that is because when you get in as a rookie, you got to learn the playbook. And Buck kept the pressure on to learn the playbook, would talk ish about you if you didn't. But the one thing about Buck is Buck could tell you what the DBs were doing, what the safeties were doing, what the corners were doing. So I always wanted to ask you this. What made you, coming from Clemson, learn the playbook in that manner? Okay, when I say this, ladies and gentlemen, I thought it was just me, and I'm not just saying this because he's on screen, but I've talked to former teammates, Bryant Young, who we played with at the 49ers. Dude, everybody thinks you're one of the smartest football players we've ever met. What made you approach football from that standpoint, especially coming from the SEC?
Well, growing up,
ACC.
I never got a chance to play youth football. So my dad just sit me down. I became a fan of the game. So I watched it, offense, defense, special teams. I try to learn everything. So when I finally got to middle school and high school, it was just in me, learn what everybody do. And then I went to Clemson as a tight end. So, I learned from an offensive point of view. And then that spring, my freshman year, they asked me if I want to move to defense, and I went and tried it. So I just always just had, all right, on offense, you got to know offensive line, you got to know running back, you got to know all of this. So when I got to defense, I had the same mentality, because if I know what to do, what I'm doing, I can always help this guy. But I can know when I can take chances, when I couldn't take chances, and then become the more you could do. Because, my coaches always say, man, you get to the pros, you just want to get on the field. You might go in as a defensive end, but if they need a nose guard or they need a 3 technique, you better know how to play it, or you're just going to be sitting on the bench. And then so when I got to Pittsburgh, I was just like, man, how can I integrate myself with these guys as a rookie and going out like, just know what to do. And so I just challenged myself. I challenged myself that I was going to be the smartest guy on the field, because that way I knew that what I was lacking physically sometimes, I could outthink you.
Gotcha.
Or I could be able to help the guy next to me. Because, when I played in college, I played with Chester McLaughlin, Ed McDaniels, LaVon Kirkland. Those were 3 of the smartest guys. And we always had this like intertwined thinking where we always knew how to talk to one another, because I knew exactly what they was going to do. They knew what I was going to do. So I was like, let me take that mentality, up to the NFL, because now I know if I'm sitting there, if Kevin Green was like, man, I'm stuck, and this rookie could answer his question, it would make Kevin Green be like, all right, this is my guy. I'd be more accepted. So, I just always challenged myself. And because I knew once I got out of playing football that I was going to end up probably coaching in some capacity, and I wanted to be able to coach every position on the field.
Okay. So you always knew that you were going to be a coach, because we're going to get into that in the future, how you transitioned, whereas a lot of guys can't go from player to coach, because you seem to have a pretty meteoric path when it comes to coaching. I mean, you went from high school to interning to boom, boom, boom. But we'll get back into that. So one thing I want to know is about your Clemson experience and all the guys that you played with. What was that like?
Man, Clemson was great. I got there. It's so funny. I committed to the University of Wisconsin coming out of high school. I was going to be a Badger.
Were you passing 90 coming out?
'89.
89. Sorry. Okay. 89.
I had like 5 of my homeboys already going to school there. I just like it's gonna be familiarity. I can go up there. I'm gonna be with my guys. But then I went to Clemson and just fell in love. Guys like Chester.
You grew up. I'm sorry. You grew up where? Where you from again? I forgot.
Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia. Okay.
Hour south of Atlanta. And so when I went to Clemson, Chester McLaughlin, Levon Kirkland, Wayne Simmons, Terry Allen. Man, it was just so many people. Brian Dawkins, it's just so many people. And I was like, wow, this feels more like home because, it was a small Clemson is only thing in the whole city is the school. Right. And so when I went there, it just felt great because, it was always challenging, to go there. And like I said, going in as a tight end, then realizing, hell, the tight ends hadn't had but 5 catches in 2 years. I'm going to switch.
You're not giving up. What do you have to lose, huh? Did they switch you or you switched yourself?
I switched, but they actually was we was going through spring. We were going through fall practice, and they was like, and I was red shirt, and it was like, man, we need some guys to go there and play defense for the scout team sometime. So I was like, man, let's go have fun. Right. So I went over there and because I had played both ways in high school, and I was making plays because you just emulating people when you're on the scout team when you're red shirted. Right. So you just be wild. And then the D-line coach kept on saying, we have defensive linemen drafted almost every draft. We don't never have no tight ends drafted. Right. And I went back and started looking. I was like, oh, all right. So I went to Danny Ford before he got fired. I said, man, I want to try defense. Okay. He's like, well, I give you a chance in the spring. But then he resigned, and Ken Hatfield came in, and I'm the new coaching staff. I'm going pure defense. They don't know me from a fly.
Right.
So going there, like I said, just playing with guys that, my 1990 and 91 defense, out of the first and second team, I think 21 of us played in the NFL. Wow. So I was surrounded by NFL talent, and they always pushed. Chester McLaughlin became like my best friend, and right. We started together for 2 years. He always pushed me, even when he got drafted in the first round of Oakland. He made me realize that the draft playing NFL football was a reality. Because he was like, hey, man, I'm up here in the NFL. You better than some of these guys. He was like, man, do this, do that. You'll be ready. He kept me on point. So going to Clemson, was great. It was so great that, we didn't even, because it was a predominantly white school, and we dealt with a lot of racial stuff, but because we were such a close-knit football team and we were so good, we never let it bother us.
Right.
We had our own cocoon and we had fun, man. It was great. And
how'd you guys do when you were there?
We went to bowl games 4 years. We won 2 ACC titles. Okay. We thought we were gonna have a chance to play for the national title 1 year, but we got upset by Georgia Tech. Chris Gradacki missed a field goal that would have had us win by 1. But we did pretty good. We was always top defense. We was a number 1 rated defense in the country 2 years in a row. Right. So Clemson was known at the time for being a defensive school. We won the ACC 1 year, and our offense on the average 13 points a game.
Damn, man! Wow. Hey, now question. Now, and I didn't know this, that you were going to go to Wisconsin. If Clemson was white, what the hell did they have you doing on your Wisconsin visit that made you want to go to Wisconsin?
Because that was pre-Alvarez, right? You would have came out before Alvarez got there.
It was the year before Alvarez got there.
Yeah, there was not a win in sight in Wisconsin back then.
It was. I had 3 homeboys that I played with in high school that was there. Okay. Because they had a pipeline to my high school. And then me and my best friend from high school, we both committed. And when I went up there, it was just like, this what happened after I found out. It was the Ebony Showcase weekend.
We had one of those at Notre Dame. Yeah. We had one at Notre Dame. Minority recruitment weekend. Everything goes.
Right. They had Ebony fashion show. Yeah, right. It's birthday. Troy Vincent was one of my hosts. And it was just like, being there with your homeboys going to college, you always hearing about, you got to go and reintroduce yourself. Right. But I'm like, well, all right, guys, I'm gonna have 4 homeboys here. It's gonna be like going back into high school. Right. And it was just in Madison. you sleep on it, but Madison was it had a Chicago influence. A lot of
It's
kids
2 hours away. Yeah, it's nothing.
went to school there, so they used to have parties at the Buff. It was just I was like, man, I can get down up here in Madison, but once I went to Clemson, I was like, I had to put things in perspective.
Where were your other 3 visits?
My other 3 visits were Alabama, Florida, and Michigan.
Jesus. And you were going to go to Wisconsin before Alvarez. Those are some real tight homeboys. I hope you still friends with them today, because that doesn't seem like it should make your top 5 back then.
We're still, if you got my hometown, our high school was 95% black, 85% of the people in there live below the poverty line. So the way we was taught and we was coached, we was like family. Cause we all depended on each other. If I didn't have nothing to eat at my house, I could go to my friend's house and eat. He could sleep at my house and eat. Our parents sort of like, it was a village type thing. So we was always raised us against the world at our high school, because we was the only black high school in our city. And our books was always 3 years older or 5 years older than the other surrounding schools. Right. So it brought us closer together. So we just had that bond that no matter where we go, we would go together. No, if they were going to school on Mars, I was gonna catch the space shuttle to go there because it was my homeboy.
That's right.
But then you start putting stuff in perspective, and going to Clemson was my last visit. And the only reason I went to Clemson, took that visit, my mom was like, let's go somewhere where I can drive, because I want to see what's going on. Okay. You already committed to Wisconsin, but I want to see what's going on. When we got to Clemson, and she fell in love with it, she's like, I know you want to go to Wisconsin, but this is the school for you. She's like, you get a chance to go off on your own. You're not too far from home. You got goals of playing NFL football. You've been saying that since you was 9 years old. I think this puts you in a predicament where you're going to be competing with NFL caliber guys. Mm-hmm. And if you're good enough to go to NFL, you can find out right now. So it all the best.
It all played. Hey, I know your mom is big in your life, and you've always talked about your mother. I heard a story about when you got kicked out of a football game. Can you tell that story? I want to know if it's true.
It was it was 1991. We had won the ACC championship. We played Cal down in the Citrus Bowl, because the ACC champion was always tied to the Citrus Bowl. Wasn't no BCS stuff then. Okay. And so we had banquets all week, and Cal had this quarterback Malowski, and there was California kids, LA, Oakland, San Francisco. Here we are, the country kids from Clemson, and at the banquets all week, we are going head to head like we can't stand each other. Mm-hmm. They calling us country bumpkins, we calling them, stuff that's synonymous with San Francisco and stuff
right. Things you can't say today, yes.
Say today. So, they had Todd Stussy was on that team, a guy ended up playing with in Carolina, offensive lineman. They had White, I forgot to do Lorenzo. Charles.
Yeah, Charles White. I think, Charles White.
Tailback. They had a bunch of guys. So we're in the game. It's the first quarter, and we're going back and forth. So me and Chester McLaughlin got a sack. So the quarterback got up, and he mushed the ball in my face, and he said something, and Chet like, don't forget. But OG know me. I could not let it go.
No.
So they ran an option play, like the beginning of the second quarter. They ran an option play, and we tackled him. And he was saying something to me up on the huddle, and I just found myself punching. I like 5 times, but I thought the power was on me. So we break in the huddle. We go back to the huddle, and they call a TV timeout. And Dick Vermeil and Brent Musburger, they're doing the thing. And on the replay board, they're circling my elbow, showing me punch this guy. And Ralph sees it, and like, number 89, you're out the game. Well, just so happened my mom had to work the night before, and she was in the mill, and she got off work, and her and my baby sister drove from Columbus, Georgia to Orlando, 6.5 hours. And she said she's walking in the game, and she hears Brentson Buckner has just been ejected from the game.
Right.
She's like, hey, can I get my parking validated before I get out of here? Let's go. Right. B.Y. is watching. B.Y. says hello.
Tell B.Y. I said, what's up?
You can hear you.
So I'm in the locker room. I'm in the locker room getting dressed, So they're like, well, you can get dressed. You got to stay on the sideline in your street clothes. Man, I hear somebody kicking on the door, and every cuss word ever known to man is coming out. And so, like, who is it? She like, let me in. She like, I done drove all the way down. You got kicked out. She like, come on, home. I like, Mom, I can't.
We going home like it's high school. We going home.
Car, driving all the way back. I'm talking about. I got the worst cussing of my life for 7.5 hours back up the road.
Your mother was going to drag you out of a major college football game.
So you did end up driving back with her?
I had to drive all the way back.
Hey, Coach, sorry, Mama wasn't playing. You know what, though? And I know the coaches were like, oh, your mama came? Okay, all right. You know, okay, see how that works. Do you? You got to do what's going on. So you end up getting, you go through college. I'm sure we could talk whatever, college stories forever. Your second round draft choice by the Steelers. What was that draft day experience like for you?
Draft day was great for me. It fell on a great weekend in Georgia, which was Freaknik weekend. Everybody that came out, it was a Freaknik weekend. So I was like, all right, the draft was always on Sunday. So
wait. It only figures that you would get drafted on Freaknik. That's so typical. But go ahead.
So me and my homeboys from Wisconsin, everybody was like, well, I'm getting drafted. We'll start my little draft party. So we'll go to Freaknik on Friday and Saturday, and we'll go home Sunday for the draft. So, we did. We went home Sunday for the draft. My wife at the time, who's my fiance, she was at my house. So I didn't have nothing big. I just had the guys that were just down with me from day one. My dad, my mom, my aunt, my fiance, and a couple of my sisters.
The Freaknik syndicate. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we was just there, man. We were just like a regular old barbecue at somebody's house. No news stations and then and the thing that was so crazy about draft day back then was because they got them all done in one day, but you would get a call. Like I got a call from the Houston Oilers at the time, and their first round pick, I think it was like 13th or something. And they was like, well, we're going to pick, it's between you and another guy, and we'll call you back in a minute. So you're sitting there, but then you see the other guy's name get called, so you're like, oh, damn, it's me. So then Pittsburgh called me in the second round, and the thing was so crazy about it, that was the only team I did a personal workout for after my pro day.
Okay.
And Bill Cowher called me. He talked. He was like, "Well, we got LeVon Kirkland here. He raves about you. He's like, I like you. He's like, I think you fit our scheme. We'll do you versatile." And then when you see your name come across that screen, it's just like a big relief because as a kid growing up back then, you dreamed about playing football. And the thing was so crazy for me, I was a Steeler fan too. I grew up an Oakland Raider and a Steeler fan. Two rivals, but those are my two favorite teams. Like, man, if the Steelers won't win, I hope it was Oakland. If one Oakland, I hope it was the Steelers. But now I'm finna go play with guys that I was watching on Sunday, and LeVon would come back to Clemson and tell me, like, man, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, man, Rod Woodson. I'm like, man, these are superstars, and now I'm finna be in the same locker room with them. So, man, it's great because it's nothing like Steelers. Steelers is the closest thing to college fan base you can ever get. It was like going from college to pro college when you got the Steelers because the enthusiasm with the fans, you just feel so good.
Right.
And you just didn't feel that other places? I'm sorry.
What you say?
You said it was the closest to college, so, you didn't feel that in the other places that you played? You didn't feel that type of atmosphere?
Well, other places have fans, but when I went to San Francisco was great, but San Francisco was an offensive-minded franchise. Mm-hmm. Like they introduced the offense at home every week. They want to hear Jerry Rice, Steve Young, T.O., Harrison Hurst. And I played with great guys like B. Wide. I played with Burton Hanks. I played with Chris Doleman. I played with Charles Haley, Hall of Fame type guys, but nothing outshined that offense in San Francisco.
Right.
And if you go to Pittsburgh, it's Steelers, period. They can introduce a kickoff team in Pittsburgh, and you would think it was an earthquake because they love Pittsburgh Steelers. And they had a saying, once a Steeler, always a Steeler. And fans to this day, you could be walking through an airport, be in a city, and a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan will walk up there and tell you your stats, what number you wore, what color car you drove. They just love Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, one of the things I used to think was funny is if you do something on Sunday because Pittsburgh was a franchise that was amongst the people. Like, it wasn't like we lived in a special place. It's a little bit different now, but like back in the day, we had to go to the same Giant Eagle grocery store that everybody did. So if you screwed up on Sunday, some old lady in line would be telling you about your performance, and that's what part of what made Pittsburgh Steelers special. It's funny because that's a segue to my next question, because I was going to ask you what your favorite franchise was of the four organizations you were with. And if I stand correct, you were with Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Carolina, or sorry, San Fran, then Carolina, correct? What was your favorite place to be overall, just overall experience?
Overall, that's kind of hard because I don't want to slight nobody.
Right.
Except for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's on the bottom. I'm keeping it raw.
Hey, that's where I finally got to play, Buck. So don't knock Cincinnati too hard.
Cincinnati was on the bottom for me because I just came from Pittsburgh, where we're AFC Championship, Super Bowl, playoffs. We're Monday night, we're Thursday night, we're Saturday. We're like rock stars when we go to a hotel. And but then I go to Cincinnati and it's like the bottom drop. It's so funny. I'm glad BY on here. Because when I signed with San Francisco,
he's talking.
BY locker right next to me. He like, "What's up, man?" I like, "Man." He like, "I'm glad you back in the league." I like, "BY was in the league last year." He like, "For real?" I like, "Yeah, I was in Cincinnati." And he didn't even know I was in the league because I was playing in Cincinnati.
Man, get off Cincinnati. That's terrible. Y'all terrible.
Man, get up them Bengals, boy.
I was like, "Oh man, my bad." I was like, "No, I like that." That's how it was. But San Fran was great because in Pittsburgh we was hard nosed. Man, we going full pass. It was just toughness. Like it was Pittsburgh like that parent to say, "You break your arm, but you better not cry. You got to sit there and hold the pain in." Well, when I got to San Francisco, it was totally different. I was like, you can play NFL football and don't have to be in pads every day of the week. You can get off, or you can travel on Friday night before the game. You got your own hotel room. San Fran was just like a resort, like a 5-star resort.
Hey, we're losing you. I don't know if that's me. Can you hear me?
Buck, we losing you a little bit. Nah, I'm losing everything.
Yeah, me too.
Hold on, Buck. We have technical difficulties with Skype sometimes.
I ain't paying my bill. How do I sound to you?
Oh, shit. Yeah. You got him?
I got you. Buck, talk. Yeah, it's Buck. Hey, Buck, do me a favor. Hang up and dial right back in.
All right.
Yeah, dial
right back in.
Wait.
Can you hear me?
No, it's coming back.
Only when you hold it away from you, we can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead and hang up real quick.
Yeah, just try to reconnect, Buck.
All right.
Let's see if it goes away when he leaves.
You hear me?
Yeah, I still hear that damn crap though.
Yeah, you hear all that crap I hear? Came on. So.
I can hear you. You came back quick too. All right, OG, hang up real quick, come back. And then if not, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang.
All right. Yeah, it's OG. He'll be back. So he hung up. He'll be right back. So we'll keep it moving until he gets back. Skype is like that, folks. You guys, they only charge me $3 every other month, so I really can't complain. There's no 800 number for me to get mad about. So you had the pro career, and I know you want to talk about like your transition. So you things went well. You had the nice college experience. You hit the pros. Did you go right? How many years did you play in the NFL? I'm sorry, I don't have that information.
I played 12 years in the NFL.
All right, so you got 12 years in the NFL, and then you switched over to coaching right away, or did you try to go earn an honest living for a while?
Oh, when I got out, of playing, I went into television. I did cold pizza for ESPN, which is now First Take. I did NFL Network when there was just Rich Eisen running the show, and there was me, Ken Norton, Rod Woodson, Lincoln Kennedy. It was very small then. I did that. I had a national radio show that I did based out of Charlotte. I had local radio shows, and I actually started coaching Little League football. It was a bunch of retired players in Charlotte, and for some reason, we just always go around the Little League games. We would just watch, and we just kept on noticing that, man, these kids are not getting proper coaching. They're not getting coached technique, because everybody want to run plays in the league. They got 5-year-old quarterbacks throwing the ball 30 times a game. I'm like, but they're not teaching the offensive line how to block. Defense, everybody just on the field. So Adrian Morrell, myself, and Myron Bell, we started coaching the Little League team. And we just, our whole thing was, we're going to coach these guys just like we was coaching the NFL. We're going to teach them from the highest level down. So we started doing that. We did that for 2 years. And then me and Myron Bell, we started our own franchise. We had 6 teams. And we took all our coaches through coaching clinics, because they had to learn NFL language. So our kids, and we coached age 7 to 13.
What league
so
were
all
you
our
guys
kids
in? Were
knew
you in
NFL talk.
leagues?
They knew how to call defenses. They knew gaps. They knew stunts. They knew coverages. And so we started that program, as well as a football symposium every summer, where we taught the kids how to do interviews. We taught them how to eat healthy. Taught the parents how to cook healthy. We taught them how to read the Bible and apply it to their lives, as well as doing football. So, doing that symposium, we actually, in 3 years, we had over 300 kids give their life to Christ at the end of those teaching.
That's amazing.
And we had so many kids. I think we had over 200 kids go off to college.
Is that program still around? Or did it fold up?
It's not around now, because once I left and became coaching, Myron kept it going. But then what we did, a lot of those kids went to high school, so we rolled it over into a 7-on-7 type program, which we don't do as extensive as you do with younger kids. So kids are in high school, but we still have the mentorship stuff going on. So what got me into coaching was my former agent had signed Glenn Dorsey. Glenn Dorsey wasn't going to work out at the combine. He was only going to work out his pro day. And so he called me like, well, man, he's scheduled to be a top 5 pick, but I need somebody to train him and have him ready, because he's only going to get one shot. So Glenn Dorsey was the first guy I ever trained, and Glenn went 4th in the draft. So you train somebody and he's the 4th pick overall in the draft. Guess what happened? Your phone started ringing next year.
Right.
So I ended up training Brandon Graham, Bruce Irvin, Eric Fisher, who was number 1 in the draft. I trained Jarrell Worthy, Justin Houston. So I started doing that. So my old coach in Pittsburgh, he called me one day. He's like, man, we had to combine, or we had these pro days, and asking guys who
Coach Mitchell. John Mitchell.
Yeah, John Mitchell. He was like, your name keep on coming up. I was like, yeah, I'm trained. He's like, well, if you can train them to get drafted, you can coach them. He's like, well, won't you come up here and intern with me? So the first year he brought me, he's like, I just want you to come watch. Stay the whole summer and watch, just see if it's something you want to do. And I said, all right. He's like, well, next year, I'm gonna let you coach, do whatever. So he let me coach a little bit. So the 3rd year I came back to intern, he said, well, all right, they're yours. I'm like, what you mean? They had just drafted Cam Hayward. Steve McClendon was a rookie. Al Woods. He like, all the young guys are here. He like, my other vets are 10, 11 years. They don't need that. I'm gonna let them go home. They'll do whatever. He like, you coach these guys by yourself and get them ready. So OG was there with me. So I'm like, maybe he just tried me. So he would lead the meeting. I had to install. I had to come up with the drill. I had to do the individual drills. He's like, I trust you. He like, coaching is not hard. He like, do what you did for 12 years. What made you play for 12 years so long? He like, you do exactly that, and you get guys, you teach them the game. And so I started doing it, and I built up a relationship with Bruce Arians, because I would go in the offensive meeting room, and I was sitting there and listen to what they was telling the guys, because I really was trying to see, well, all right, how are they trying to block these guys? How can they help these guys get blocked? And what are they saying about the guys? And all the guys were saying, man, these guys are way better in the spring. Their techniques are getting better. So I was like, all right, I must be doing a pretty good job. But by doing that, I built that rapport with Bruce Arians. And one day we sitting at at practice before practice, and we was just talking. He was like, "No, you like this coaching thing?" Like, yes. He was like, "Is your family on board?" And I'm like, "What you mean?" He was like, "Because a lot of people think coaching is just you." He like, "Your wife and your kids got to be on board with it because it is a family affair."
I've always said that, man. You have to have the right kind of wife to be a coach, because not everybody's wife is following you from town to town to town like that.
And then everything's gonna fall on her for the most part, and the kids got to understand. So when they bought in, and I told him, and he told me, he's like, "Well, I'm probably gonna have some chances here in the next couple of years, and if I get a chance to hire you as a defensive line coach, I'm gonna hire you." So you build relationship, your network, your net worth. So I talked to Keith Butler, who I built a real good relationship with.
Coordinator of Pittsburgh, right?
He was just like, if I ever get a chance to go somewhere, I'm gonna hire you. So. And I was back in Orlando training. At the time, I was training Jarvis Jones, that draft class, him and K1 Short, and I got a call from a BA, and I was like, "What's up, coach?" He was like, "You ready to be my damn D-line coach?" I was like, "Yeah." What time to interview? And he was like, "Ain't no MF interview. If you know BA, every word's a cup."
Yeah.
I told you I was gonna hire you. I got a chance. You my D-line coach. The general manager gonna call you with a contract by tomorrow. So I was like, for real? So I was like,
That's what's up.
I said, I got to go home. So I called my agent. I was like, well, man, I'm gonna hook you up with another guy that can train your guys. I'm gonna hop on this plane because I think I just got the Arizona Cardinals D-line job. And then so I landed in Charlotte from Orlando, and the GM Steve Kine from Arizona called me, and we was talking. And he was like, "You played at Clemson?" I was like, "Yeah." He like, "I knew." He like, "I used to come party at your apartment because my best friend from high school is y'all kicker, and I used to come from NC State and hang out at your crib." So it was a small circle. So now that's how I ended up coaching, man. So I really went from little league football to interning to coaching in the NFL.
Which is insane because you see how much rigmarole people try to do to get into the NFL. But I think a lot of it has to do just with your personality and your intelligence and so on and so forth. Now, I got, we're kind of running short on time, and I could have this conversation all day. I want to know how your Raiders experience was. And because inadvertently, I don't know if you know this, but you stole Hard Knocks for that episode. I mean, you're everybody's favorite coach and dealing with Ronald Ali. How was that experience for you, man? I mean, like I said, if anybody's watching this podcast, this is Buck. He's not, this is just him all the time. And he's the same guy he was on that show that stole the show. How was that experience for you? Just trying to coach, but also be yourself. Because, well, you always going to be yourself. So that's what it is.
The experience with the Raiders is good because the Raiders are another one of those iconic franchises where their fan base is college part two. Like that black hole, you don't really appreciate that black hole until you get on that silver and black. That fan base is radical. So it was great to walk in that building, and like I said, some of my closest friends, had played for that team. Chester McLaughlin, both of those guys who are no longer with us anymore. And I could walk by murals of them on the wall every day and like, man, my best friends walk these rooms. My godfather, Otis Sistrunk, was a Raider.
Okay.
So, to be in there and just to coach, it was just great. The last season in Oakland, but the Hard Knocks for me was easy because, it's all about being yourself. When you say reality TV, I always think you want what's real. So I'm not, me, I'm educated, but I don't speak in big words. So I'm not, I'm not very proper when I talk. I can,
which is deceptive.
I'm myself, what I mean? I can put on a suit and go sit down with some of the biggest men in the world, but I can stand on the corner too and hang out with some of the street guys too. But because I'm always real, what you see is what you're gonna get, and that's what it is. My style of coaching is, we've always been told as coaches, as players, we are a family. I got your back. I'm always gonna be with you. Well, not many coaches really live that out. Right. So when I got into coaching, I always say, if we're going to be a family, I'm going to treat it like a family. I'm going to be an open book. You can ask me anything about my life, my marriage, about raising my kids. I'm going to be able to teach you, but I want you to be open with me. So I build that rapport with my guys. So when I'm with them, I can be myself. So I don't have to worry about, the camera here today. I can be myself. I can be honest with them. Like, because I always tell them, I tell you the naked truth before I tell you a well-dressed lie. So if your play sucked this day, your play sucked. But as soon as you do something good, I'm going to throw a parade for you too, because we got that honesty. So it was great being on Hard Knocks because I was just myself. And I like that people like to see, man, you gave us the real. I like because I'm not an actor. I don't get paid to act. I get paid to coach.
Right.
And I don't get paid at all to wake up every day and be Brentson Buckner, the true human. So I gave people the real. So I never feel that you should see me and be like, oh, there goes Brentson Buckner, ex-football player to coach. Oh, there goes that guy, he coached football. You can come talk to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? We can sit down and go have a bottle of water or whatever you want to do, play around a pool. And that's the way I coach, man. I'm just a simple guy from Columbus, Georgia, that's been educated through this game. But one thing I always praise myself on, I've been the guy that's never been scared to learn from the people that was next to me and that was better than me. I learned more from BY than I could ever learn. Because me and BY, even though we were the same draft, same position, but I learned stuff from him. BY taught me different stuff. His demeanor, I took stuff from him. I took stuff from Chris Doman, Charles Haley, Rod Woodson, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, T.O.
Greg Lloyd. Right.
Greg Lloyd. I was able to take stuff from those great guys and use it in my coaching. That's why I said I knew I was going to be a coach, because God allowed me to be around some great, talented people that I can coach and talk football with any position on the field. I played with at least 20 future or NFL Hall of Famers, guys I sat with and had conversations with that respect me for what I did, but I respect them for allowing me to get some of that knowledge. So it helped me in all my coaching, man.
Right. Well, but one of the things that I got to say is
it's easy. Sorry, go ahead.
It's easy to buy into you because, like I said, you're a real brother. I mean, you were real with me when I first got there. You taught me how to be a pro. You kept me on my team, man, and I appreciate being around you, man. And thanks a lot, bro. And if you get a chance, last question, I got to ask you this because you're an insider. We gonna have a football season, bro?
Right. I'm a glass half full guy. I'm saying right now until they tell us no. I think the NFL and the NFL Players Union are doing everything they can for the safety, because that's first. Right. It's the safety of everybody, not just the players. It's the coaches, the trainers, the people that got to serve the food, everything. So I'm thinking, I'm just asking God if it's gonna be safe for everybody. I think we will, but we just got to take it a day at a time. Let's be honest. We don't have no control over this thing. We just got to be as safe as we can today, and then try to do it all over again tomorrow. So so right now, until they say no, I'm gonna say yes. We're gonna have a season.
Inshallah, God willing. One question I got to ask you too. I know I keep saying this, but tell us about the sequel.
That's from coaching. Right? The coaching is always, we got one more.
Right. Tell us about the sequel, Brentson Buckner Jr., because he's kind of like a big deal from what I've been reading.
Well, he's his own guy. I never wanted to push football on him. I told my wife he would never play until he come to me 5 times and ask me could he play. Okay. And he used to, because he wasn't born when I was playing. So, he would come, he would ask, he wanted to play. So I just let him play. He started off playing offense, and we moved out to Arizona. And they just want to throw the ball because he was a running back. He I'm gonna go play defense. And he actually went to high school as a safety. But I told him, the D-line gene gonna kick in sooner or later. I'll let you, but it was good because, he got great footwork. But, man, he really loves the game. He's not afraid to ask questions. He wants to learn the why in football. So I've been teaching him the why since he's been playing.
Kind of like somebody else I know.
So he been learning the why, and he just loves the game. He works hard. He's smart. He understands that it's life after football. So, he has his plan out, but he's a skilled pass rusher. You know what I mean? He's, people say, well, he's not 6'4". He's right at 6'2", 240 outside backer, but you won't find many players on the college or high school level that got a skill set. He goes in the game with rush plans. He know how to watch film and break down what his opponent is doing, and he attacks guys, and he has a relentless motor. And so he's blessed to get he picked Oregon. He's like, I always wanted to go to Oregon. It's out here. They want me. They got the major I want to be in. And, I get a chance to play for the school I always wanted to play for. And he was blessed to receive a scholarship offer there. And he committed there. So he'll be the class of 2021 and we'll be Skull Ducks.
Was he able to visit at all with this Rona or not really?
Well, it was one of the schools because they was the first one to offer him. He visited there 3 times because his older sister is a volleyball player at Oregon State.
Okay.
So they're only 40 minutes apart. So he's been there 3 times. He's did the virtual visit. So I was blessed, and we was able to get him to a lot of schools before COVID hit. And so he was able to make a very calculated, educated decision on where he wanted to continue his education.
Well, that's great, man. Well, I guess I have an excuse now, along with my Southern Illinois gear that I'm wearing for my son, to go buy Oregon stuff now, right?
Yes, I got 3 because I got a daughter that plays volleyball at Oregon State, my son going to Oregon, and my oldest daughter, she's in medical school at Pitt. So, I got a 3-ring college selection I got to run through right now.
Sounds like you did as good a job as a parent as you did on the field, and that's fantastic, man. I'm glad I got to meet you today. I've heard so much about you through Oliver, and everything seems to be better than advertised. But you've been a great guest on the show. I got 1,000 more questions, but I know it's Sunday, and you got a lot of faith. You probably got some bed to need to get to at some point. So I don't know, Oliver, you got any more questions?
Buck, man, great to see you, man. You look great. You're the same dude. Don't ever change, bro. Love you.
I appreciate it, man. Love y'all, man. Faith before fame.
All right, bro.
Take care.
Later.
Has come, but let you know where I'm coming from. Yeah, what you done for me? Set my heart. Yeah, what you done for me? Set my heart. Yeah.
Yo, you don't. Hey, try not to hang up because it makes it leaves that Skype picture on the thing. It looks kind of tacky.
Okay, I didn't know because last time I stayed on, you didn't stay on, so I don't know.
No, I did. I always stay on until the end of the thing. So if you ever look at the show, you might. I don't know.